If you're a lead generation agency and it takes you forever to get campaigns out because you're spending a load of time generating the emails and just playing around with spreadsheets, by the end of this video, you're going to have something that's going to make that entire process 3 clicks. And even if you aren't an agency owner that's running cold email, you can use the principle that I'm going to outline at the end of this video to build whatever it is that's taking you forever to build. So for those that don't know, I'm Sheni. I help businesses map their workflows, find bottlenecks, and then alleviate those through agents, automations, and different systems. 2 things happen when people work with me. They either drastically increase their headcount or they drastically increase their revenue. So we're going to go into our trusted friend, Claude Code. And we're going to do 3 things here. And the first thing that I'm going to show you is something called a surface scraper. So I'm just going to do a couple of fancy things here. And the first thing I'm going to say is the following. Find me the HVAC companies in LA. Find it. Okay, it just didn't use the word find when it looked for that. That's fine. We're just going to add the word find, and then that is going to run. And what that's going to do is it's going to find the HVAC companies that are all in LA. With that information, what we're also going to do, and this is what we're going to get into today, we are also going to work within this sheet to do 2 more things. The first thing is we are going to find all of the owners that are in this set of companies right here. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back into another one, and then we're going to go to Gmaps Owner Finder, and we're just going to paste this URL in here. And then we're going to open up another terminal, open up Claude again. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this sheet and we're going to copy this URL and we are going to run email cleaner. And then we're going to do that just there. Now, what the hell am I doing? What's going on here? How is this working? What's happening right now? This is the way that work is evolving into. This is what work is becoming. It is a small command with a few parameters added to those commands to launch off a number of different ideas or activities that will go on in the background. So what I've just done is I have taken a small list of companies here. And in fact, they don't even have California inside of my list of companies. So what it's doing is it's actually going to, oh no, it's still finding it. That's all good. So what we're going to do here, and you can hear some of these clicks, that's just Claude letting me know that things are done. What we're doing here is we're taking this entire list of companies here and we are scraping HVAC contractors, heating contractors, air conditioning repair services, and furnace repair services. And we are about to scrape all of the people inside of California, Los Angeles. So we are going to run this. And if we go into the other ones, we can see that we've actually got a result on the email finder. So if I go into sheet with emails, I can see this column down here. Now, this column is saying send for basically everyone. Now that's because I've basically gone in and given a list of people that have already been verified. So that should be the case anyways. This is a little bit clearer for you to see. So you can see here, final verdict is send. We've also got the MX providers. These are Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 accounts. These are the results. Are they valid? Are they catch-alls? Or are they deliverables? And what you can see here is we actually have 2 different things here. We have a catch-all and we have a deliverable, and we have a score from a tool called Bounce Band, which we'll talk about in a second. So this is the process that's currently being followed and what's actually happening here. So I've just triggered 3 different things that are going to do multi-step processes. The first one is scraping a list of companies from Google search. The second one is finding the owners of a list of companies that were scraped from a Google search. And then the third one is to clean and verify emails that have been found from founders from a scrape that occurred in a Google search. These are all divided into 3 right now. And the whole point of this is basically to show you exactly what needs to be done in order to build skills that Claude can basically utilize and do for itself when it comes to the generation of work that's going to take over basically everything that you're currently delegating. And you can see here that we have HVAC companies in LA. These are the zip codes that we scraped, 94 of them. We have 5 keywords, which means 470 jobs were taken. 3,577 raw companies were saved. There's been a lot of deduplication that occurs, and this is just a thing that happens with the Places API, which is what Google is using, or what you're using in order to scrape these places from just Google My Business. Like when you click on maps and you just put in the name of a business, it usually comes out with this list. That list is very likely to get duplicated depending on what you're scraping. So there's always a lot of deduplication that needs to happen. And then we have a CSV that was exported, and it actually looks like this right now. So if I combine these, you can see the company names, you can see the addresses, the website, the phone numbers, the ratings, the rating counts, the categories that they belong to, latitude, longitude, CID, keyword queries, and postcode queries. So you can see here, this is the entire list of companies. And with the rest of these, you can see that it's basically the exact same list here, as you can see. And this is kind of how everything is working right now. So with this, and it looks like we have the third one, which is also done. So we have also an output sheet with a number of other business owners. So we might be able to find that one too. And here's our list of HVAC owners in Chicago. And this is, so we actually did Chicago when we did this the first time, simply because this list here, which is the sheet that we wanted to scrape, these are all people in Chicago, and these are all of the actual founders and the owners. Now, what we've tried to do here with this is we've tried to find the names of the owners and the founders, and we're doing some really intense Google scraping and regex scraping in order to find this information. And you can see the evidence and the reasoning for what we have right here. But we do have emails, and these emails can be, and these are all info ats, because if you're scraping local businesses or whatever it may be, you can get away with going out after info ats. So what's going on here? What are we actually doing? And how do we actually, if you wanted to make this for yourself, how would you actually go ahead and do that? Well, there's a few things that you're going to need. The very first thing is a Google scraper. Now, my Google scraper of choice is called serper.dev. Now, I need to be very careful because my API key is all over this place, which is super annoying. But this is how it works. Whenever you have something that you want to scrape, or a list that you want to search, we have the places, which is the type of search that we want here. We have a query. This one is HVAC. Country, United States, location, in this case was Chicago, and the language here is English, and it gives us this result. And you can see here that these are the places: Chicago heating and cooling. This is the rating, this is the rating count, this is the category that they're in. Brown's heating and cooling, same thing. And you can see this is the category, this is the phone number, this is the website. EcoTemp HVAC, this is the website. Global Heating and Cooling LLC, this is the website. And you can just see that we get, 10 things per credit that is consumed. You need something like this because this is a Google scraper that's going to give you the entire output. This is exactly where you're going to go in order to find all of the information that you need. There are some others out there, but the one that I like the most is Serper. It's pretty cost effective. You can run about 50,000 searches for $50, and each search gives you 10 results. Now, there's a hell of a lot of deduplication going on, and you can see that from one of the scrapes, we actually had about 184 businesses out of 270 jobs, i.e. credits. So you actually get a fair amount for what you're paying for, but either way, it's still a very, very easy way to go about this, and there aren't many other alternatives that will give you sort of the same bang for your buck, and things increase over time if you pay for more upfront as well. So if you're going to do a ton of this, then just put like $500 in there, and you're going to get way more credits than you would if you put 50 in. So that's the very first thing. The second thing, which I actually haven't gotten written down here, is you're going to need a list of keywords. Now, why do we need a list of keywords? Well, the reason being, we actually don't want to go in and just mention, oh, hey, I want a HVAC company, and this HVAC company needs to have, 15 or 16 different iterations of its name that we're looking for. We actually want to semantically go through and find who we actually want by typing in the name of the thing that we want, and then having AI do its own semantic search on everything else that we know we can search in order to find other examples, which is the reason why when we were inside of the main scrape, one thing that we were getting a lot is we were basically getting a good understanding of what we wanted. We asked for HVAC, we got HVAC contractor, heating contractor, air conditioning, furnace repair, so we got all of these other things. And this is what was necessary in order for us to get all of the things that we knew we needed. Now, where is this list of keywords hosted? This list of keywords is hosted inside of a database, which is Supabase. And this is where the list of keywords needs to be stored. So really, this one is list of keywords stored in Supabase. Now, you can store this in like wherever you want. You can actually store this in a Google Sheet, but why do we even need this list of keywords? Well, if we go and look for Google My Business keywords, we can find a website called Pleeper, and Pleeper is a free browser extension designed for Google business profiles, and it's there to show you all of the Google business profile categories. So what I did was I went in and I fetched all of the Google business profiles, and it gives me about 4,000 records, which all link to what people would call themselves on Google My Business in order to have their business found. So everybody that does HVAC primarily is going to give themselves one of these keywords: HVAC contractor, heating contractor, whatever it may be. This list here is ready for us to scrape. So what we did is we got a tool called Instant Data Scraper, which is a Chrome extension that we were able to use to find every single one of these items on this list. So if I click on this Pokeball, you'll see, okay, so yeah, it's done it anyways. It's basically taken this entire list here and it's given me a table that I can scrape, and all it's asking for us to do is to locate what the next button is, which is going to be right at the bottom. And then it's going to go through here and it's going to go through the rest of this list, and then it's going to click next to the next page, and so on and so forth until we have all 4,000 records that are inside of this list. We then took this list and then we uploaded this into Supabase, which is just a way for us to one, find all of these in one go and have them stored in a place where we can access them without really needing to think about them. And two, we also had them in a place where we could actually do what's called a vector search, which basically just means, okay, we know that HVAC is close to heating. If I type in HVAC, I most likely want heating. So let's just search for those two things. Now I know how to do this with like Pinecone and like Supabase PG Vector and all this nonsense. You don't need to know how to do this. You can just prompt the cursor or Claude Code or whatever you're using as your CLI, as your command line coding system, software, whatever it may be. You can ask it to do this yourself. And that is how that was made. And for the most part, once you have the keywords and you have the Google Scraper, you're about 98% done. The Google Sheets credentials. Now, this is something we actually didn't really need because we can just take an export from our downloads and then just import it back into Google Sheets. But it really is helpful in order to have Google Sheets just activity occurring inside of the systems that you have running inside of your Cursor and Claude Code skills, This means that whenever you generate an output, you can specify if you want to just append a column to the end of a sheet, or if you want to create a whole new spreadsheet. Whenever I'm creating or whenever I'm turning companies into contacts, I always want a new sheet. But whenever I'm doing stuff to contacts, like cleaning the emails, I just want you to append the sheet. That's it. And having Google Sheets credentials is the easiest way to do that. Now, how do you get these in? Again, I'm going to explain that you actually do not need to explain this outright, insofar as you don't need to be able to know how it's built. You just need to be able to just say that this is what I want, and then you'll be able to get it. Then we have the email cleaners. Now, what are the email cleaners? The first one I use is Million Verifier. Now, Million Verifier upfront will tell you if the list that you have is good, risky, or bad. Bad emails are the invalid emails. These are the ones that don't exist anymore. Risky means that they may or may not exist, and good means that we're good to go, we're good to send. Now, this bucket of risky, as you can see, is actually a large amount of the list that we have. And risky emails exist for two different reasons. Either they are emails that can't be found because they're like unknown, or they're emails that have what's called catch-all added inside of it, which means that there are certain emails that you basically can't determine from the regular means if it is okay to send to. However, there are multiple different types or ways of getting around these catch-all verifications in a way that is a little bit more accurate than what a Million Verifier or a Never Bounce would do. And that is the whole point of something which is called bounce ban. Now, bounce ban is one example of a catch-all verification. And the catch-all verification just means we're actually going to see if this email if we're going to send like basically like a dummy email and see what happens. And when we see what happens, we can determine if these are actually accurate or not. So it's a 2-layer process, and that 2-layer process is how we got these results at the end. We have MV result, and then we have bounce ban result. And you can see everything that is a catch-all has gone through bounce ban. Everything that is MV result, which is valid or invalid, would not go through bounce ban. And all we're doing here is we're confirming that all of the things that are risky, quote unquote risky, and we have 5, 6, 7 out of 50, which is more than 10% of the list here. We're just determining if they're good or not. And if they're good, then we can send to them. If they're not good, then we're just not going to bother. That is where the email cleaners come into play. Then we need an LLM. We need LLM access, which means we need access to all of the models. Whatever model that we can find, we need access to it. And the best place for that is called openrouter.ai. Openrouter is a place for you to get whatever tool you're looking for. So you can see here, just from this sheet, that there are ways for you to get AI models based on, whatever they have available to you. So I can have one prompt go through GPT 5.3. I can have another one go through Quen, another one go through Mistral, another one go through Anthropic, whether it be Opus 4.6 or Sonnet 4.6 or whatever I want. And these are the types of things that if you have them in place and you can specify, all right, I actually don't want to spend an arm and a leg doing a very simple process that I know I'm going to have to do 500 times for every single row on the sheet. I just want the simplest solution that I can get. This is a great place to find that information. And this is a great way to get it. There are image versions of this. I didn't actually use this inside of this flow because I don't need it, but the image version of OpenRouter is called foul.ai. So if you're trying to build out landing pages, or you're manipulating images, or you're turning text into image, or images into more images, or even doing some video stuff or 3D stuff, you can do it in here, because Foul AI is basically the interface for LLMs that are visual in that sense. That's neither here nor there. We needed LLM access, and then we needed something for deployment. Now, I've currently been using modal.com for deployment. Modal gives you $30 of free credits a month to run whatever you want to run. And as you can see, we actually have a number of different things that have occurred here. Now, this is a live app. This one is the Serper Scraper. So this one was the very first thing that we did. And you can see here, it's just sent a metric load of different items out over the past 24 hours, in fact. Now, what's happened here? This is basically sending, and there actually isn't any logs, which is kind of unfortunate because that would be an easy way for you to understand exactly what's happening here. But the whole purpose of Modal is you don't want to be doing these really heavy computerized activities on your computer, because what will happen is, and I've done this before, I've actually made this error. When you want to do something really big, i.e. you want to go through 50,000 rows of a specific item inside of a spreadsheet, and you just want to process it as quickly as humanly possible. If there are like 5 or 6 processing steps on 50,000 rows and they're all happening in tandem, in parallel, then you're going to eat up CPU on your computer. This goes for any process that you want to run inside of Claude Code when you first build it. The way to get around this is to deploy it. It's to take the thing that is local on your computer and put it in the cloud. You're basically taking the code and the skills and the API keys and all this other good stuff, and you're giving it to a external platform that's going to host it on a separate part of the web, on like a blank screen, and that blank screen is going to power absolutely everything else. So that's the reason why we are doing what we're doing here, and we're using tools like Modal in order to do it. Now, you can use Modal. Another one that I've seen, which I actually might migrate over to, is called Railway, and Railway is just an example of something that is way easier to not just use for sort of like workflows and basically like automations, because Modal's backend only, which means automations only. Railway also allows you to import, websites, and it's just more multi-scale. So you could just do more things on this. And it's like $5 a month for the hobby plan. So super easy to do this. And for all of you techie nerds, this is something that a lot of people are using with NAN as well. So they're putting their NAN instance on there, and then they're building out all of their workflows and stuff, and they're just keeping it there for safeguarding. Now, this is all that you need in order to make the Google Maps scraper. So the question you might be having is, okay, so how do you actually make this? Well, the very first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to plan out how to make this. And the plan is something that you'll always have something go wrong if you do not have what I'm about to show you, which is the final step in this process of this video that I wanted to talk about, which is decision tree logic. Now, decision tree logic is, you can see and understand exactly what I'm talking about here. Number one, prompt with a campaign, all details, yes or no. If it's yes, we want to find out the cost and summary of the job. If that's good to go, yes, we run the scrape, and then we export the info back to the documents. So this is very much just a basic example of a just like if-then logic mapped out in a decision tree, which is just the flow of information going from start to finish. But you can also see that there are some no points, and you can see that there's some other things which will loop on itself. So this good to go, ask for changes, good to go, ask for changes loop that we have is what human in the loop is. Human in the loop very just means there is a process in the middle that we are going to put a person in the middle of. And when we have this person in the middle of this loop, we can ensure that we are doing exactly what they are asking us to do. So it's just a way for them for the automations that you're building to actually not completely go haywire. Now, why am I actually talking about this? If there is anything that I have over the past few weeks and at this point months of building things inside of Cursor and Claude Code gotten a good idea of, it's the fact that you will always need to find more and more devices to make what you're talking about cover all of the edge cases. Now, what do I mean by that? There's going to be so many times where you'll have this idea of, okay, I just want to make this Google Maps scraper. This is the tool that I'm using. This is the way that I'm going to be scraping things. Just build it. And if you want to go in and say things like that, then what's going to happen when you actually have the output is you're just not going to get anywhere with what you're looking for. And because AI is very literal, like it's autistically literal, you're going to have problems where things are being built that you either did not want built because you didn't explain that you didn't want it, or things are going amiss because you forgot to add them initially when you went through this entire process. That is where the decision tree logic actually comes into play, because when you draw this out, and I'm not saying draw this out like you spend your time inside a Lucid chart drawing this out. You can get a pen and pad, or you can get a note, your Apple Notes or a text edit or whatever it may be, and just take all the information in your head about the user flow and then build through that. And if you can build through the user flow, A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D. When B fails, we do this. When C fails, we do this. You can get around 80 to 90% of the problems because you've mapped out what can go wrong and where things can go wrong. And if you're also having some issues with understanding exactly what that would be, this is the reason why you have different chats. This is the reason why you don't do everything inside of, Claude Code or Codex and you just rely on the plan. This is a great chance for you to open up ChatGPT on the side, or Claude on the side and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. I need to understand the user flow and I need to understand where things can go wrong. Can you point those things out inside of my plan? Can you red team what I have in front of me? And when you red team the things that you're building out, you get way better outputs. And if you get these better outputs, you actually won't be screaming and shouting and saying that AI is nonsense, because there's kind of like 3 levels to the way that you're going to prompt things. Level 1 is just ooga booga moment. It's just Donkey Kong. You're just saying, hey, do thing. And then it does wrong thing. And you're like, you did wrong thing, do better. You're just not going to get anywhere with that. Level 2 is being able to explain things, but not in a way that is like code friendly. And then level 3 is being able to direct the AI because you understand the underlying logic and the code behind what's being built. Because the difference now between the layperson and everybody else who actually is inside in the field doing a lot of these automations is that they think like this. They think in decision trees. They think about error handling. They think about edge cases. They think about pipeline orchestration. They think about all of these things that are being taken for granted. They understand what a super base is and how it's meant to work. And they understand things about compute and just all of these other random things that you're just going to hear more and more when you're dealing with things like OpenClaw or all of these other AI instances or AI nonsense and rubbish. All of these things help you talk better to an agent. And if you talk better to an agent, you get more out of said agent. And that's the long and short of it. These models are only as good as you are able to communicate with them, and that will always be the foundational truth. So to summarize, as far as everything that needs to be done in order for you to understand how to build what was just shown in this video, the very first thing that you're going to need is a Google scraper. This Google scraper is going to give you the 80% of the work. The list of keywords that are stored inside a Superbase is going to give you the extra 10%, and then the rest of this is the other 10%. A Google Sheets credential, the email cleaners, access to each of these LLMs, and then something for deployment as well. So what I'm going to do is, because a lot of these times I'll spend 2.5 hours building these out, what I'll do is I'll throw in a couple of skills in the description, so you'll be able to make these and play around with these yourself. And from there, you'll be able to get an understanding as to exactly how to build these for yourself without having to spend a ton of time getting through the logic that I worked through in order to build exactly what was built. So if you enjoyed this video, there's going to be more builds coming from me. There's going to be a video over there for you to look at, which will be some other thing that I built and some other information that you need to know in order to become AI first as an agency owner in 2026. So see you on the next one.